Greetings, dear friends, fellow programmers, and those aspiring to be. I, as usual, have a question for you. Have you ever been wondering how JavaScript executes our code? If you did, and you would like to completely learn and connect all the dots and pieces that we covered so far into a single execution path that JavaScript utilizes, you, my friend, are in the right place. So just sit back and enjoy the video. What are execution contexts in JavaScript, and why you should pay attention to them? Well, understanding execution contexts is going to allow you to become a much better developer, write more efficient code, which is also going to be bug-free. It's like having a roadmap that guides your interpreter to execute code exactly as we want it to be executed. Now, let us dive into the complexity of JavaScript execution contexts. If you do not possess the understanding and knowledge how this process works, you will open yourself for a lot of issues, because in whole honesty, JavaScript can be very painful at times, because it behaves very differently when compared to, for example, C#, because it's way less structured and it's way easier to make yourself come into a problematic situation. So in order to prevent those issues from happening, you should get acquainted with all the mechanisms that are happening under the hood at all times. I mean, after all, there are so many different frameworks created out of JavaScript because people were struggling to understand the vanilla language well enough. That is why we have React, Angular, Vue, TypeScript, and a gazillion other frameworks which were built on top of JavaScript just to allow us to write better, more organized, and easier to understand code. But if you master JavaScript and its core, you will be able to write code that is way more performant and have tight grasp on everything that is going on, and nothing will be unfamiliar to you. And you will end up scratching your head a lot less, while your applications are going to be performing a lot better. So, there are three main execution contexts in JavaScript. We have global, we have function, and also we have eval. Those three are the main execution contexts of JavaScript. And today, we will cover the first two in depth. But if you would like me to cover the third one as well, feel free to let me know in the comment section below and I'll do that. So first, global context. What is it? Well, it is the entry point into our application. It is where our code begins its journey, one might say. Then we have function contexts, which get created every time we invoke one of our functions. And finally, we have eval contexts. And these contexts are being created whenever we run eval functions. Now, to get ourselves warmed up and acquainted with the core concept, let us jump to our IDE, where I have prepared a very simple example for you just to get you warmed up. So, let's go. And now that we are here, we can start discussing what is going to be happening in our code. So the first thing being done is going to be the global context is being created. And inside of it, as a part of the global context, we will have the variable called greeting, and also we will have sayHello function. These two are the part of global context. And then when sayHello function gets invoked, a new context is being created. And the context I'm talking about is a function context for sayHello function. I have prepared a simple diagram depicting how this flow works, and as you can see, we first have global context, and when we invoke say hello function from the global context, another context is being created for the say hello function. And the type of that context is of course going to be function context. And also important thing to note is that each context has its own set of variables and functions that are a part of that context. Now that we got the base definition of context in JavaScript, it's time to talk about their lifetimes. So each context has 3 stages in its lifetime. The first one being creation, second one is execution, and the third one is teardown. So now let us explain what each of these stages, even though their names are self-explanatory, actually mean. During the creation phase, JavaScript sets scope chain. It also sets the this object to point to the scope that we are working with, and also it instantiates and allocates memory for all the variables and functions that are within the context we are working with. And all this is also known as hoisting. If you do not know what hoisting is and how it works, I invite you to take a look at the video that I filmed dedicated just to hoisting itself. Then we have execution phase. In this phase, as the name suggests, each line of our code gets executed, one line at a time. And that's everything we need to know about the execution phase. And lastly, we have the teardown phase. After the code we have written is executed for the current context, it is time to free up the memory that was used and destroy the context from existing. That way, we will not waste and have a lot of memory allocated that we do not need and use in reality. That way, we will be able to write more performant and scalable code. Let me show you all of this in another example. The example I have prepared right here is again very simple, but I would like to explain what is going to happen when a new function context is being created when the add function is being called. So what is going to happen is we're going to allocate 3 memory locations for A and B parameters of the function, and also for the sum variable that we are going to use inside of this function context. When this function gets executed, all of these memory locations will get freed up in the termination phase that we just explained. So, if we would try to invoke any of these 3 variables outside of the function, we would get an error because they no longer exist outside of this function. So that is exactly why our compiler would complain when we ran this code. Understanding these 3 stages of execution will allow you to have a way better understanding of JavaScript and its core behaviors, which is going to allow you to become a great developer after all. So I think you should spend a lot of time understanding and truly mastering all of the stuff I'm mentioning in this video. Now, one more thing to note is the fact that each execution context has its own lexical environment. Now, if you do not know what this is, I invite you to take a look at the video that I filmed about lexical scopes. That is where I covered all the things you will need in order to understand how lexical scopes work. But a short story is the fact that lexical scopes are scopes within which given variables and function can be accessed from. So basically, whenever a new execution context is created, a new lexical environment is created as well to allow JavaScript to know what is accessible within that context. And as usual, here comes another example. Now, in this example, what I want you to understand is the lexical environment that gets created when we create a new execution context. So, when we run greet function and create the function context for that function, we have created a new lexical environment within which we can access greeting variable. And this lexical environment, because of scope chaining, can access the outer scopes of that scope, which means that within the greet method, we can access name variable because it is in the outer scope when compared to the current scope we are looking at, but the other way around, it does not work. From within the global scope here, we cannot access the function scope that is created here and contains greeting variable. So you can go only outwards, not inwards, in your variable and function access. Now, let us take this even step further. Let us talk about lexical environments and execution contexts when we are working with nested functions. So, for example, within a single function, you have yet another function which is going to contain its own set of variables, and then we will be able to confirm and test and prove that inner function can access the variables from the outer function, but not the other way around. And all of this is covered in depth in the series dedicated to scoping. So if you did not see those, please do that. It will make your life and understanding much better. Now, another example. When we run this code, what is going to happen? We first, from the global scope, invoke the outer function. When that happens, a function context is being created for the outer function. And this context will contain outer variable and also inner function. So it will have those two at its disposal. Then when we invoke the inner function, another function context is going to be generated with its own lexical environment containing just inner variable. And from there, we will be able to access the outer variable from the outer function. Let me show you that this works. As you can see, we're printing I'm outer and I'm inner, so everything seems to be working as expected. But if I do this and I try to print inner variable in the outer function, we're going to get an error. Inner variable is not defined, which is exactly what we expected. Basically, this is as simple as it gets with JavaScript and the way it handles scoping and context. So if you understand all this, you will never again have to figure out what is going on in your code, why something cannot be accessed while something else can, and things of those sorts. And this is the moment when the magic happens. After we have completely explained what execution contexts are and connected them with scopes, it is time to connect them with call stack and the lessons we covered in the previous series. So now that we know what execution contexts are, it is time to tell you that call stack is actually storing execution contexts that need to be executed in order in which they're supposed to be executed. So when I said in the previous lessons that we're pushing a function that needs to be executed on the call stack, we're actually pushing its execution context, and from there, JavaScript interpreter will know how to execute code. So basically, this is the eureka moment, and this is how we connected all of those topics. If you did not see all the lessons from before, you might consider going through all of them and grasping how everything works under the hood, and you will certainly be able to understand your JavaScript code a lot better. In summary, right now, you should be comfortable understanding how execution contexts work, and also, as a good developer, you should be mastering this concept because it will allow you to write more effective and performant code that is going to be easier to maintain because you will understand what is happening under the hood. And remember, it's not all about writing a code that just works and does what we want it to. The point is to write code that we know exactly why it works and what are the potential issues we might encounter with that code, because that's the only way a true senior developer is supposed to tackle problems. Before we wrap up, I would like to encourage you to take a moment, practice all the stuff we covered in the series, and if you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to let me know in the comment section below each of the videos, and I will do my best to come back and answer all of your questions as soon as possible. If you found these videos useful and have learned a thing or two, I would like to also invite you to subscribe to the channel because it means a lot. Finally, thank you for watching and happy coding!